I think this is what we have to decide. Is it going to be about yourself, or is it going to be about the other person? So it's a good thing you were thinking about me when you said I should
All the
not say
time.
good. But one thing is for sure. Look, let me tell you, in India, at least this part of India, when we say I'll be there in 5 minutes, you don't know whether it's going to be half an hour, 1 hour, whatever. So you said 2 seconds, or 1 second actually. So I don't know how long that 1 second is going to be. It was at least 3 minutes. So it's similar. I think culturally it seems to be similar situation.
Yeah, I know. I don't like to be late, but I'm on a vacation time here, so I have my daughter at home, and I had to finalize things with her so that she could let me have some time for us. So,
Oh no, that's perfect. I'm saying this that 1 second thing and that aspect seems to be quite similar. That it can take as long.
yeah,
But
this is not a good aspect of my culture, at least. But you're right.
no, it is a problem. I think today I had a meeting with someone, and it was like almost about 13 minutes over. So then sir, I'm just coming. I said, when? It's been what, it was 1:30, it's been 1:43. When are you coming in? So it's like, at least good thing I always thought was that because of this whole online thing, people were getting into meetings on time.
Yeah,
That should
that's
not
true.
change. That should not change. That
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, we had scheduled for 11 here, right? 11 here, which is 8:30 for you, right?
7:30. 7:30.
Then 7:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So at least in that I got right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But tell me, your voice hasn't become all right yet. Isn't
Sorry?
back to your voice isn't back to normal.
It's not normal yet. No. It's coming and going, and but that's fine.
No, but that's like major damage. What? How did you manage this? I really have to understand how you manage this.
There is a huge flu going around everybody in Brazil. So COVID and the flu are traveling together all around the place. So what happened to me was that I caught a flu, and then I got better, and then I caught another flu. So, but
But
I'm fine. That's what matters. So
but your daughter's okay. Daughter didn't get that. Your
yeah, she's fine. She got one flu, but not the second. So
okay, but tell me something. When I write Brazil, am I supposed to write Brazil and Lebanon or not? I really have to decide this. Should I write Brazil?
what happens is, thanks to a constellation, I have Lebanese family. My father was Lebanese. His father was Lebanese. His grandfather was Lebanese, and but since my grandfather, they were all born in Brazil, but Lebanese. And I was in charge of the will of my grandfather, and I started doing research, not just to take care of the legal aspects, but to understand some of the family history, which was important to me. And then I went to the consulate and I asked for their help in terms of finding documents, etc. So they asked if I wanted the Lebanese nationality, which of course I said yes. So I am Lebanese because my family is Lebanese, but I've never lived in Lebanon. I only visited Lebanon. And I have a lot of the culture because it was already in my family. But I was born in Brazil, and I am acculturated as a Brazilian. So although I don't feel quite like that, but anyway, all my life was in Brazil. So
But it's gone.
I'm
Yeah,
more Brazilian.
it's gone there now. It's Brazil and Lebanon because you have the nationality, so you are there. So
Yeah.
at least look at that. It's in the blood. You can't
But
take
I
that away.
cannot speak Lebanese. I can only speak the bad words. So don't try to talk to me in Arabic because it won't help a lot.
No, but what language were you talking to there? There was one constellation thing I was watching on your YouTube
It's
channel.
Portuguese.
That was
In
Portuguese.
Brazil, we speak Portuguese.
No, that video was a Portuguese thing. I thought you were doing something in Lebanon in that video.
No, what I did a constellation for Lebanon. When there was that big explosion in Lebanon recently, I did a constellation to the the content of the constellation was the Lebanese situation and the explosion, but it was done in Portuguese. And when I how can I say, when I was organizing the constellation, I asked people, the people who were participating, to make donations, and those donations were sent to Lebanon to help the victims of the explosion.
But how's the situation now in Lebanon?
It's very complicated. They still have a very difficult political scenario, like some other countries of the region. They have a sectarian regime. So the Congress and the executive power are all divided among religions. So this is a big confusion, because people get a seat in Congress because they are Islamic, or they are Catholic, or they are, basically it's Christians and Muslims, the big groups. But within those big groups, they have subdivisions. So all the movements in society have to take into account your religion. So it's a big divide among people. And so in my humble Brazilian view, this is very artificial in terms of the reality of society. Instead of bringing together people, what they do is to divide them even more, and divide them by birth. Because when you're born, you don't choose your religion. You're just born in a family that is already in one group or the other group. So the religion doesn't really come from the heart. It comes from something that was decided before you were ever conscient. And so there is all this mixture. And since a long time, Lebanon has been a place of a lot of wars, of a lot of disputes, because it's very strategic. It's very small, but very strategic in terms of the location where it is, all the natural resources, all the beauty, and so on. So Lebanon used to be, quote, a little Europe within the Middle East. But now, with all this political and economic hardship, it's going through very difficult times. I was there in 2019. I was very lucky to be there in 2019, when it was still a good moment. And then with COVID and all the crises and the explosion, it became worse again.
But the thing is that, look, one of that Vision 2026 that I put out, one of the things in that is decolonization. And this divide and rule concept that we have, according to me, colonization is what the whole policy was, divide and rule. And I keep talking about this because a minority to rule over a majority needs to do this. And that aspect has, I don't look, it's a repetition. Whether you heard me say this, I'll keep saying this, that this whole concept of democracy, India being a democracy, US being a democracy, is all a fallacy. Because
Brazil being a democracy.
Yeah, those statistics you'll give me, I've looked at the US statistics and the India statistics. 33% of the entire votes of the country you get, and you become the US president. In India, 25% of the entire votes of the country you get, you become the prime minister. You make the government. Although here they have some other parties who were supporting them, but the major party that got 25% of the entire votes of the country. So if that kind of a situation you have, and I'm not calling it democracies, because that democracy means at least the majority have a say. People get together and a majority says, okay, if 75% on this end, or in US 67% on the other side, in a way are saying, we don't want you. It's not correct that way, although, because 37% stayed away from the elections in the US. So 37%, what side they would go on, or have they moved away from the entire electoral process so much? Have they given up on the democracy concept also? We'll have to look at, obviously, that. But the fact is that these people are out there who really did not vote for a particular government, but they'll have to go through that government for the next 5 years, 4 years, wherever, whatever the situation in the country is. So that way, I think that divide and rule will keep continuing. I was trying to bring this up with Ken. With Ken, they're talking books that I did with him. One of his books on. He's also looking at all this. He doesn't like the way things happen in terms of internal issues, whatever it might be, maybe discrimination or whatever else happened in the US in terms of the politics. But I was trying to put across to him this aspect that is it a democracy? Because you're trying to say in a democracy, all this. First, create a democracy and then say whether these things happen or don't happen. To start looking at the problem as it exists without going to the root of it. I think that is where the issue lies for me.
Yeah, in Brazil, we have, I believe, an even worse situation, because for the past few elections, the scenario that we had was the bad or the worse. Like, I don't vote for a candidate because I like him or I trust him. I vote him because I think he's less terrible than the other candidate.
Choosing the lesser evil.
Exactly. And most people who has voted for either one in the second round of the elections, because we normally have 2 rounds. So on the first round, we have options, but at least my option didn't go to the second round. So on the second round, when we're really deciding among the evils, we are voting for the less terrible, which is totally unlegitimate, because whoever gets there didn't get because he was selected. He got because he was the less worse for the majority. Yeah. So it's a very complicated scenario. And what happens, of course, is always about money. It's about how do you get there. Although the current president that we have, he got elected with a very low budget campaign, which is a good thing by itself, because he didn't depend on a lot of donors. But there were other problems around the election process. Anyway, I think this conversation can take a full live.
Gabriela, that's why you can't put these time limits on conversations. Now you have something else happening. You have to go somewhere for some appointment. You said you have some appointment somewhere. So you can't
but we have 2 hours, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so that's okay. Okay, that's okay. Then I thought maybe you have to rush in the next 1 hour, because the way what time that you gave me, I thought that, okay, so that's okay. Then it's relaxed. Then it's not a problem. So you can tell us a little bit about that, because look, this is actually an issue. And for me, this is a big issue, because on the face of it, we say, oh, countries have democracy, people are free, they have free will and all that. But finally, when it comes down to the process, some people benefit from the process, so that change doesn't happen. And of course, I won't get into, last time we got too much into the mediation aspect also, the aspect of judiciary benefiting from mediation being part of the court system. Changes are not happening because they're benefiting. And so I feel, well, we won't get into, but we won't get into that.
No, but what I find interesting about humanity is that no matter what we talk about, we always reach the same point, the same down point, which is how much does each one really decide about the own destiny and the own behavior. And my belief is that without self, and then we can get to the other subjects that you like a lot, and me too. If we don't know ourselves enough, if we don't invest in getting to know what we really are, what we really have achieved already, and what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, when can we really make a decision consciently, when are we being moved by what is in the unconsciousness, and so on. Without that, and the people who really invest on that are a very tiny minority, but without that, we are being driven, we are being taken to whatever in a presidential election or in a conflict resolution scenario. We are just being driven. We don't drive our own life. We don't sit in the driver's seat.
So that's why I'm saying, Gabriela, that vision 2026, the most important aspect is decolonization. I am saying this is the colonized mind, the colonized structure that people live in, that over those hundreds of years, that mindset that has been ingrained and passed on. I think that aspect of it will take time. It's not going to change immediately, but some people just have got used to be driven. They just think that they don't
Exactly.
have the destiny in their hands.
And it is, quote, it is kind of comfortable
Yeah.
because when you're driven, you have no responsibility for where you are.
Yeah.
And you have no idea where you're going to. But that's okay too, because you know that someone will respond to it because it's not you.
Yeah. In a way, look, it's similar to the whole concept of adversarial concept of dispute resolution, that someone else is driving it. I don't have a say in it.
Exactly.
So
Deciding for mediation is an act of courage. Requires to sit in the driver's seat. And that's why it's so hard. And I always say that the judiciary is the top of mind methodology around the globe.
that's what I'm saying.
And even worse in countries such as Brazil, where it is not expensive to get into the judiciary. So in the United States, you have an upfront barrier because it's very expensive to cross the line to enter the judiciary. So people have to think twice before they get there.
But is Brazil? It's not free. Brazil is not free, is it? Is it free to
in
go
Brazil,
into?
it is free many times
Wow.
to get into the judiciary.
Because Wednesday I had the Patricio from Chile. He's saying there also it's free.
Yeah, some cases there are some natures of cases that are free and some that have to pay. But even what you have to pay is not comparable to what you pay in the United States. So when you have that clear, rational, financial barrier to get into the judiciary, it's not because you're a better human being, but it's because many times you cannot get there. So you have to try alternative dispute resolution methodologies. In countries where this upfront barrier doesn't exist, or they're very low, it's so easy to delegate upwards. You delegate to the judge, you delegate to the teacher, you delegate to your parents all the fault for what happens in your life. And then you remain comfortably where you were before. So nothing changes. Yeah. You don't take charge of your own life. So that's why the judiciary is the first methodology all around the world, because first, it's easy, quote, at least to get started. Afterwards, it's very hard, but to get started, it's very easy. When you have all your emotions blocking your train of thought. And second, because it is the only methodology so far that you can start alone. You don't need a minimum conversation with the other party in order to start. So again, we talked about it last time. That's why I am so fond of mediation clauses in contracts and of laws that make it mandatory at least to try mediation. You cannot be obliged to really live through a mediation, but you can be obliged to sit in front of a mediator and listen to him and to the other party for at least one time.
But Gabriel, that's not right. This is not right on your part. You can't say listen to him. You can't say that. It's just today not politically correct to say that. You have to say him, her, or whatever gender.
Oh, that's true.
The thing is, if a man does that, it'll become, oh, this guy is just looking at that gender, and look at that. This is really
Okay, so listen to him or her.
Or whatever gender,
Listen.
or whatever gender. Now you have to be politically correct to even say that. And
That is
whatever
true. That
gender.
is very strong in Brazil actually right now. So, but in English we have less situations like that because we have more neutral words and etc. So you have to sit in front of the mediator, whatever the mediator is, him or her or the mixture, and the other party. So, but this opportunity to listen is what really makes you many times try. And by trying, you get there. I am fond of the systems who make you at least go to water. There is a sentence that I heard from Giuseppe De Palo, who is a GEMS mediator, and I think he's not anymore, but he used to be the UN ombudsman. And he says that you can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. So it's the same thing. You cannot make people mediate, but you can take them to mediation. And by taking them to mediation, if they're thirsty, they will drink. And because they won't get there alone. Getting there alone is very hard because the first thing you have to face is the choice for the methodology, for a collaborative methodology that presupposes collaboration. And you have to choose one person that both parties can trust. So it's very hard. It's very unlikely.
So I'm on the other
to
side.
start a mediation that is not mandatory.
Because I'll tell you why, what I'm saying. Obviously, look, this is maybe an idealistic concept that to develop a culture of mediation, I'm happier doing that. Whatever time it takes, be it, I was, who was I saying? Someone was telling them that, look, the judiciary wants this to happen. Okay, they have a self-interest. But why doesn't the Chief Justice of the highest court in the country go out on television or wherever else and just fold his hands and say, look, we have let you down. We have not been able to give you justice. We are denying justice because justice delayed is justice denied. So don't look at us to give you justice. It is best that you try settling the dispute between yourselves. Use mediation. It is a very good process. And after that, if for any reason you can't, we will still deny you justice, but then you won't have an option. Then come to us. That is what is required. Don't even moment. I'll tell you why. Again, this is again the colonization concept. The judiciary doesn't want to come down to the level of the people. They will sit at a pedestal. They will be called your lordship. Like I keep saying, I don't know in Brazil what the proper thing is, but here still the judges are referred to as your lordship. The British went away. It was 1947. Why does this all continue? Because the judiciary enjoys it being up there. So let them come down to earth. Look, tell them, look, we have failed you. This is where they're not being able to accept that they can actually come down. Right? This, first of all, that is my decolonization aspect. This is one important part of it. And I'm stopping you from speaking. Please, I'm sorry. You want to say something?
That's okay. That's okay. It's a dialogue. I love to listen to you. But the thing is, in my humble view, and I'll be very, how can I say, candid. They are just human beings, just like we are. And just like us, if they don't have a lot of self-knowledge, it's very hard for them to step out of themselves and see the system where they are completely embedded. So it's bigger than them. I have lots of friends who are judges. And in Brazil, all the movement to bring mediation to the judiciary started by judges, as in Argentina as well. But the thing is how we know the why. Why is mediation necessary? We all know. Because the judiciary has too much in their plate, they're not able to do so much, and so on. If mediation was really functioning properly in society, for society, from society, they would get just the cases that should be there, so they would deliver justice. The reason why they cannot deliver justice timely is because they have too much, and it's mathematically impossible for them to really fully analyze each case that is there, because they have too much that should not be there. They're doing what society should have done prior to getting there. That's the problem.
Gabriel, this also aspect needs to be touched as to what should be there. We'll do that after you finish. You don't have to go into that. What should be there?
So technically, in my view, what should be there are the cases that really have, they're really about a doubt on the interpretation of the law. Most cases, 90 plus cases there are not about the law. Are you there? You disappeared.
I'm there. I just wanted to put something on that. I got up, so I said I'll put off the video and get up for a second rather than have my whole self over the camera.
Okay, sorry.
It was a little cold here, so I was putting on the heater here.
No, sorry. But so the cases that are really about the law, about a true doubt on the interpretation of the law, they have to be there. That's what the judiciary was built for. Yeah. But all the cases where the law is just an opportunity to sit with the other person and try to resolve, the opportunity to tell the other person, see how stronger I am in relation to you, and how about I will win and you will lose, and this is the belief of most. And many times what we see in the escalation of conflict, and I'm sure that you're very familiar with that, is that at some point people don't even care if they will win or lose. They just want the other party to lose more, because this is about the evolution of the phenomenon of conflict. But anyway, so people are there for the wrong reasons, and they are there because it's easier to ask mom and dad, state, the colonizer, if we think in a little different way, to tell them what is right and wrong. Because if the judge tells people that, tells one party, you're right, they will say, see, that's my point. I have always said that. And if the judge says you're wrong and the other party is right, they will say, no, the judge is not competent. He took bribery. It was the secretary of the judge who wrote the sentence, and so on. So they have a lot of excuses to remain doing the same things they were doing before, to not be transformed by the experience.
But Gabriela, the important thing that I'm saying is that, first of all, where all does the judiciary actually fit in? You two people have a contract, one guy doesn't pay the other. Is it really something that the state has to create a system around it? Does the state have to pay judges and set up infrastructure of courts because two people wanted to get into this dispute? Let it be a kind of a, like I said, a for-profit or maybe not for-profit situation. You will go to this particular dispute resolution center, where, of course, you can choose mediation, you can have your own judge, which is arbitration, or a judge is appointed for you. Maybe it can, let's see whether it is a certain fixed amount, so arbitrator can charge what they want. If in this case there will be a fixed amount, which is maybe a more reasonable, whatever it has to. It's a not for profit for a moment, but it's still it's not being funded by the state. For these disputes, that should be, this is again the whole colonization thing, that the disputes have to be handled by something set up by the state, or it is a judiciary which is in some way in control by someone, or whatever it might be. No, we don't need all that. So the judiciary, maybe constitutional interpretation, all those things I can understand. Getting into even family matters or commercial disputes, why should the state also and the judiciary be getting into those things? I still want to figure that out. Exactly. Why are we not being able to cleanse that aspect?
And that bill is paid by all of us. So we are all paying for that person who owes someone to be obliged to pay what he already knew he was obliged to pay.
Yep.
So that's the point. And then when the judiciary is so slow as it is in Brazil, and as I understand in India and in so many other countries, you benefit the dishonest.
Yep.
Because for those who don't want to pay what they know they should pay, a slow judiciary is perfect.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they want.
And also
It's
the
an
fact,
excuse not to pay. And
and
this is not fair with all of us who are paying taxes to finance
exactly,
his benefit of not paying.
exactly. And what I'm saying is, that, and also the delay, because the power imbalances frustrate the other person who might not be able to afford that litigation, and finally reach a settlement and say, okay, I'm doing you a favor kind of thing because you can't get out of this litigation. You might have to sell your land. Look, whenever I talk about it, I always consider that man in the village. And I keep looking at it from that person's perspective, that what all is that person going through, all the hardship to even reach a court, the costs involved, power imbalances there, all that has to be considered from that person's perspective.
Yeah, but then again, let's understand. Let's talk about what could change. How could change? How could it change? So when you go to the judiciary to ask the state to tell you who is right and wrong, you're not doing your job of trying at least to do your best for yourself, for the other party with whom you have some kind of connection, and for society as a whole. So you're not being a good member of society. That should be in the culture. If it's the same thing as littering the street. If you throw your garbage in the middle of the street, you're you're spoiling my street as well. So I should be entitled to tell you, please take your garbage to the garbage can.
Yep.
But if you throw your garbage in the street and I am afraid or ashamed to ask you to do what should be obvious that you should be doing, it's very complicated.
Yep.
Because then we need to pay the state, to pay the garbage man, to pay all the service that will clean the streets for all of us, because you didn't do your job and I was afraid to ask you to do what you should be doing and what I should be doing too, of course.
Yep.
So the balance in society comes from the basis of the pyramid, and then looking up to those who are in the top of the pyramid. As you were saying, why doesn't the Chief Justice say, sorry, I can do my job, so please do your job so that I can do my job?
And the important, I tell you what, for me, the important part why I need to do this, or we should do is because that person who is sitting in jail, or not even sitting, lying in jail, languishing in jail, because there is so much other work like this, whether this person paid you $1,000 or not, because of that, the time of the court is taken, while that guy, you took his freedom away, or her freedom, or whatever gender again, that person's freedom
Exactly.
away, put them in that jail, and you can't decide that matter. I keep saying this. Why should it be even one day? Why should that person's freedom be taken away and put in the conditions which the colonizer gave to you, in a way? The
That's
colonizer
true.
put that, the colonizer knew that my guy can't get inside. Because I have made the civil procedure code and the criminal procedure code in such a manner, I'll get that person out. I will still show that there is some concept of law and rule of law, but I will put so many loopholes in it that if I want my person to come out, I will make sure. But I will, if you are a colonized person, I have created such conditions in those jails that you might be accused, you're not convicted. An accused is sent into facilities which I don't think anyone would want to go into. Why? We have to question all these things. It's not so. It's not as.
But it's again, it's very easy to look up and say you're not doing your job. But what about the job that we as a society are not doing? Because, and this is the crucial point, when I don't do my part, I'm delegating my part to whoever It's what we call, you probably have a concept and the same concept, and I won't know the right words, but eventual guilt. So I take my car and I drive 200 kilometers an hour. I don't want to kill anyone. But if I don't see you and you're crossing where you should be crossing and I kill you, I'll say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to kill you. I just wanted to race my car. And I ended up killing you. So I'm sorry. It was not my intention. So it's the same thing. When I don't do my part, I'm delegating it to someone else who will have to do the own part and yours. So this is not responsible. So when I take my case to the judiciary will have to put some attention, maybe not as much as I wanted, but we'll have to put some attention to decide on my case, which means that they won't be putting their attention to free the person who is unfairly in jail, to really decide on legal issues that are not clear in the law yet, because there's no jurisprudence and so on. So these are the two types of cases that they should be doing. Yeah. And they should be proportional to these functions and not to everything else.
Absolutely.
But what happened when I started doing mediation in the judiciary, I was a lawyer long before, but as a lawyer, I was never a litigator. I was always a consultant and a business and tax planner and so on. So when I started doing mediation for the judiciary in some jurisdictions, and I started talking about all of these with judges, those judges who brought us in, they were individual human beings, really, fully, deeply, how can I say, in anguish, they were asking themselves, what are we doing here? And I many times asked them, what percentage of your cases you believe should be on your table and not in society being resolved by mediation, negotiation, whatever. And most of them said between 3 and 5% should be there, which means 95 to 97% could and should be resolved by society. So these individuals who were really feeling bad with their own function, they wanted mediation. But what happens, and then I think it's the same also all over the world, why is it not working? When we already have mediation, which is one step ahead, all these facts that I'm saying were before there was mediation in courts. I did the first mediation in the Rio de Janeiro court ever to be done, me and my partner at the time.
Wow.
And then it became a public policy years afterwards.
So, which means, Gabriela, I can write the pioneer of mediation in Brazil.
I was one of the pioneers, of course, not only me. And in Rio, it was me and my partner at the time, but there were already mediations happening here and there in other states of Brazil. So at that moment, we had no mediation, and we started having a pilot program. That was when we started. And then it became a public policy. All of this is evolution. But evolution is not necessarily working if it is at the wrong place, at the wrong time, at the wrong manner. And why wrong? Is it better than nothing? Yes, it is better than nothing. It raises awareness at least. But mediation should be done before the judiciary and not inside of the judiciary. There's no mathematics to explain why a body such as the judiciary that has too much to do so much that they cannot do what they should be doing, to bring in another function that is completely different in nature from what they should be doing.
Exactly.
So why there?
Yes.
The real the good uh, functioning of the judiciary, which is what happens in the United States, by the way, is to foster mediation in society. And
But
when we have laws
that's not
such as in
happening.
Argentina and in Italy, we the laws uh, make mediation mandatory before crossing the line, and then
But
it works.
Well, I tell you, when you talk about the US and creating that culture has not happened, because when I do a little Google search on community mediation centers in the US, I find only 400 community mediation centers, and only 400,000 matters being taken to those mediation centers. And out of that, how many have been referred to by the courts? Because courts also refer to the community mediation centers. So we don't really know, because that, as I'm saying, that culture of mediation is a very important thing, but has it really been created somewhere? So that needs to be looked at. So decolonization, creating a culture of mediation. The other important thing which came up and which I need your viewpoint on, I've been saying one of the vision was developing the profession, and Constantia is there on the YouTube thing and she's saying hi. So this is hi to Constantia.
Hello.
Look, I get a little, sometimes I look this way, I'm listening to you, I just get a little distracted because I'm looking at the live chat on the YouTube channels. Okay. So that whole thing that Constantia, that's the fact that she should be able to practice in this generation and in her lifetime as a full-time mediator, that concept, I was the vision was developing, I just said profession, but developing the profession. But now I'm thinking, is it a profession? Now what I put on that in my website, only I put pointers there. I've said way of life. Profession, I put a question mark to, because today I really want to look at, because when I see the definition of profession, the aspects that come out, some of them don't agree with, because for me let's look at a definition. Okay, let's look at a definition. But what comes out immediately is a paid occupation. Okay, especially one that involves prolonged training and formal qualification. I have an issue with that. Okay, I feel that this is a natural ability, it's all inbuilt, you don't really need that training, and definitely for me that qualification not required. And I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I've been saying villages, let's go there. There are people who already are doing this, they are already trusted, they have everything going, and people obviously the user experience is good, so they keep going back to them. So what I did was, there were some people from some village, some rural area in India. So there's something called the Gandhi Smriti, basically the ideals of Gandhiji, the Ministry of Culture, Government of India under that. So they organized this. So I asked those people, what is mediation? What came out initially was mediator decides. So because they have this, they have something called the panchayat here, and these people are elected. It's like the, let's say quasi judicial also. They have some roles to play there, but in a way, deciding. So I said, this is not mediation. So the conversation happened. Slowly, it didn't come immediately, but slowly, some person came in. I know so and so, that person is doing mediation. After I told them what mediation is, that name came out. Someone else came out with another name, described how the person is doing it, total mediation. And obviously everyone trusts the person. So this is, one is that whole formal system of electing some 5 people and those people going to them, and people in our, even our Supreme Court has a training manual under, there's a committee which has been formed, there's a manual there which says that panchayat is doing mediation. And if I talk to a villager, he says that person is deciding, that those 5 people that are elected, that panchayat, they're deciding. So when I send out a signal saying panchayat is mediation, they're going to understand the mediator decides. So that whole communication, the way it's going out, is for me wrong. So I am saying that let's bring these people out. Let's not put into this whole training qualification, because it's a much larger picture that has to be looked at, not the limited institutional or even courts. That's still limited for me, because not, the numbers are not there, numbers are out there. The millions of matters which first of all don't even go to courts, the millions of those matters, what you were saying, I don't know Brazil what the situation is. I don't know. Last time I told you about this particular report that had come out here with the government of India and some other organizations that brought together a report on. It was on ODR, but in that report they were talking about only 3% to 25% of the matters going into court. So I'm saying only 3% go because it suits me to say that. So if 3% go, which means only 18 million matters go into courts in India every year only. And if you look at only 3%, that means there are about 450 million matters out there which don't go into courts. So something is happening there. Let's strengthen that rather than look at this very limited area where dispute resolution is happening. So I'm saying that is it a profession? Do we look at it as a profession, develop it like that? Or just a way of life? These people, natural ability, let them do that. Yeah.
The sentence that comes to my mind is whatever works. The way that a mediator does his job, in my view, of course, there's a lot of cultural impact for sure. But if people are really transformed by the opportunity, if people are really in peace afterwards, the mediation did his job. Of course, that if you go to a mediator and the mediator gives his opinion, his or hers opinion, and the matter is resolved by the mediator's opinion, this is not mediation. I think many times when I teach mediation, I teach to completely different groups, from business people to children in poor communities, from lawyers to doctors, medical doctors, and so on. So I have taught mediation to a lot of people. And what matters to me is that they gain some tools to use those tools in whatever they do. So I have to come to the very basic spinal center of mediation. And for me, mediation is this minimum definition of mediation is when a third party comes in to help the parties in conflict take responsibility for their problem, develop a solution that is mutually accepted, however it comes, and the basic of the basic is this: take charge, take responsibility. If the parties have understood their role in the creation of the problem and their responsibility, their meeting of minds to get out of the problem, the mediation has done his job, his or her job. For me, that's enough. What happens in many cultures is that you go to someone, a chief of the tribe or whatever, and the person tells you what to do, which is the same thing as a judge would do. So that doesn't transform people. But in a society where this is the tradition and the person, whoever he or she is legitimate and really talks to people and helps people understand, it worked.
So this is what I'm saying. This is what came out from that. That on one end we have these people who are, of course, elected representatives, and people go there, and this is what is spread around the world, that India has that system. And from the village, the feedback is people go there, they are told what to do, and to the extent in that meeting, this person says that sometimes those people are thrashed to agree to what they are saying. It goes to that
this
extent.
is not mediation.
Exactly. No, so
the problem is what you're naming it. So name it something else.
exactly. No, what I'm saying is it's still not called mediation, but what the word that is spread, which is, like I told you, that particular committee that is set up where training happens and mediators go into the court system from that. This is where it's that the panchayat does mediation. So first of all, somewhere down the line, people have moved far removed from the practical aspect, the ground realities. So that's one aspect of it. But on the other end, when I say that you are told what you should do, because when you look at the traditional system, you have rabbis and priests also being part of the process, telling people what they should do. Now, the should means, are you under some obligation, moral, social, and you feel you have a choice, but you will go the direction that this particular person is telling you, or you don't have a choice. When you don't have a choice, yes, it's not mediation. Now, but if you have a choice and you choose what this person tells you to do, I am still okay with that, because you had a
Yeah,
choice. So
yeah.
this aspect, that traditional concept, people want everyone to move away from it. Oh, this is all traditional thing. This is what happens. They look. It's not as simple as that. The traditional, it's not that all of it is wrong. The way it has been done, if it's forced on you, it isn't a problem. This is where I like the definition of the Singapore Convention. I think that has really brought it out really well, which I think needs to be just that one paragraph. That's why I say, I don't know, teaching people about mediation, you don't need to teach them. You just have to tell them about it, and they know everything about it. That's how
But
simple it is.
they have to live through it. I think experience is what makes a difference.
But they're experience. I'm
Because
telling you, they're experiencing it. Yeah.
it's the same thing as raising a child. When you tell the child what to do, when the child comes with a question and you give the answer, you're stealing from them the opportunity to learn. But when the child comes with a question and you answer with other questions, and you help the child understand why and how they should develop the answer, then they have grown from that opportunity. Then they have learned for life. That's what I always tell my daughter, that you don't have to study for a test just to go to the next school year. You have to study to learn. So if you have not learned, if you have only memorized the answers, this is a waste of time and money.
Yeah. And that's the way education system is going. But that's the way it's going. But first thing, let me to Gabriel, I want to put
The
that.
thing is, mediation is about education,
Yeah.
but it's about a natural education, an organic education of the parties, from the parties to the parties. So they will understand what reality is and what the boundaries are between their rights and their obligations. And they need to understand what is. I worked for a long time with school mediation. I don't think we have talked about it, but I was the founder of the Brazilian Center for a global NGO called Partners. At the time, it was Partners for Democratic Change. Now the name is Partners Global. And our main project in Brazil was school mediation in public schools for younger children in the communities with armed conflict. So we helped children learn how to mediate other children. And the most beautiful phenomenon that I have witnessed was when children who came from very traumatized stories, who came from very violent families, they understood that they had a say in what happened to them. So when they were mediating other children and helping other children decide for themselves, they learned that they could decide for themselves too. So many times they went back home and they started asking their parents why such a thing happened, violence, normally uh, family violence, and why it had to be that way and how it could be different. So they developed solutions within their own families as well.
Yep.
That is, I get touched just to remember it, and to remember some of these children that were transformed
Yeah,
by
even
that
one person.
experience.
Yeah, even one
Huh?
person, if you can, even if that one person you can transform, must be so satisfying. That you
Exactly.
actually,
And
where you.
with children, it's easier. They have less. They have less. How can I say, attachments. So it's very easy for them to learn collaboration. It's very easy for them to learn that equal power between the parties makes sense. It's very easy for them to understand that if you want your colleague to do what has been agreed, you have to do your part as well. It's natural. It
But
makes sense.
but the only thing about the school mediation, I'm very clear that in school mediation, children should actually resolve disputes, not be told about being good human beings. That if you're a good human being,
Exactly.
so it goes into that direction. Okay, do that. I'm saying I keep saying that. Let do that. But here they should see that they can themselves resolve a dispute. When they take that into their families and they say you can actually resolve this dispute if you sit together, and we have done it in school, why can't you try it? Makes I'm saying that is actually where the push is going to come from. They are the ones who are going to
Exactly.
influence.
But that's the point. They don't learn because they're being told to be nice. They learn because in practice, they understand that the other person will do what has been agreed if I do my part as well.
Yeah.
So they understand being nice is not about an obligation, it's about doing what you want for yourself. It's not about being naive, it's about being reasonable about your expectations.
But what I'm
And children learn it easy.
what I'm
It is natural for them.
but the thing is, again, look, let me tell you, this whole decolonization aspect that I'm saying, in the minds of the children, it is still being ingrained that there is a person of authority that you have to go to if you want to resolve a dispute. This has happened twice with me on the show
Yeah,
itself. On the show itself, talking to someone from Nigeria, his son comes in. I asked the son that if there is a fight, would you help or would you get involved to help your friends resolve the fight? No, the teacher will not like it. This is response on the show right there. Imagine that's been ingrained in the thing that I will not, if I help the person, I am doing something wrong. I'm going against authority. So this is what decolonization, that whole thing that I keep saying, that vision, it is really serious the way it's been ingrained. And to
that is
break it,
true.
it's not going to be that easy, because now I'm seeing that child must have been what, 10, 11 years old. At 10, 11 today, if that person has got this in their mind, imagine what the situation is, how serious it is, that early you've already put into that person's mind that no, you can't resolve disputes within yourselves. You have to come to so and so. So that is what I'm saying, when school mediation has to happen, it has to happen where it is totally empowering the children. You are
Of
not
course.
getting into it. You're not getting into it. You're just creating the atmosphere. Yes. And
Yeah.
stay away. That's what I'm trying to say. That look,
Yeah.
teachers,
But then
principals, stay away.
in my daughter's school, it happened like this one time. She was angry with someone and she was trying to talk to the person, and the teacher came and said, no, 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 you come to me and I will resolve it. It's easier, again, it's easier for the quote authority to resolve it at the spot, because the adult thinks that they know enough, and the answer is blunt, it's totally clear. uh, but it's not an education opportunity. If you resolve by the child, for the child, you're taking the opportunity of a learning process. And then I told my daughter, I said, what happens when you don't have an adult around you? Are you going to just stay there and beat the other child or being beaten? So you have to have your own tools. You have to resolve by yourself without violence, preferably. Preferably, because sometimes you have no other option. You're not going to discuss with someone who came to beat you, because, of course, you cannot let it happen. Uh, but it's more about the system uh, incentivizing or not, and that's what you're talking about. So if the system is not, I forgot the word I wanted to use, if the system is not fostering this attitude of the children trying to resolve among themselves, of course, the children will learn that this is not a good option, that they
Not a, yeah,
cannot do it. They're
not even
not
a good
able
option.
to.
Yeah, not even a good option. Not even
Yeah,
considered as an option. That's what I'm trying to say. That it's not even considered as an option. This
exactly.
is where how it's been ingrained into their minds.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would love, if you don't mind, to change a little bit. I know that you are the guide, but I wanted to, if you agree, I wanted to think about what we can do, because we have been going through all these difficulties around the world. We all do. You have, I have, everybody that has been for more than 6 months in mediation have had some awareness of the problems that we face in order to really make mediation happen. Uh, when I was working with the Brazilian um, Bar Association, we did a research at some point. I was a co-founder of the mediation commission in the Rio de Janeiro chapter Bar Association. And we started doing a training on mediation for the lawyers that worked for the Bar Association, because there was a social service, um, like a pro bono law firm within the Bar Association. And we were teaching these lawyers how to offer mediation and how to do mediation when it was applicable. So we did a research asking people if they knew anything about mediation, and that was in 2008, so a long time ago. If they knew about mediation, if they said yes, if they knew little, medium, or a lot. And second part of the interview, in case they knew medium or top, if they used mediation in their own cases. And for the second group, the group that got to the second part, most people said, I love mediation. I think mediation is a great tool, but in my own case, it wouldn't work.
And why?
And
Yeah.
and again, why? Why? Because the individual who has gone through many opportunities of trying to resolve a matter, starting by negotiation, and it didn't work, they will be more prone to believe it will never work because they have done their best. So helping people get to mediation is not, I in my humble view, is not about talking about mediation, teaching about mediation. People can learn about mediation and understand that mediation makes sense, but it still won't make the horse drink the water.
But I tell you, let me tell you. Yeah, okay, okay. Please. You were saying something. I'll come in after that. You were finishing your sentence. You took a break. I was taking the opportunity to come in, but no, I won't take the opportunity. Please.
No. So I believe in systems. I believe in how can I say, a set of stimulations for people to have to try. Having to try should not be an option, should be an obligation. But then staying or not
But I think,
should be a well-educated decision.
no, I think Gabriela, where the issue lies, and I've thought about it, looked at it, and I've seen it from that perspective that up till you don't have the right people doing that, if you don't have the right mediators, it is always going to fail. Everything you can do, you can force them, you can put costs on them, you can do anything you like. The process, if the person goes through a process where they either they don't like the process, the way it's done, or it's not done properly. Did I tell you about this Supreme Court mediator? There's an interview that I saw, kept saying in that interview that the mediator will decide. That's a trained mediator from the Supreme Court and practicing as a mediator in the Supreme Court. So now what is happening inside that room, we have no idea. this is what's happening there. If that's what's happening there, what is the person going to go back with? Look, the mediator decides, and then you don't have a choice because this is final. This is it. It is
So,
done. So now
yeah,
even that appeal process is gone from you because you got into it. You thought that when the mediator tells you to do this, you have to do this because the court has appointed the person. They don't know. Yeah, there is total lack of awareness what mediation is, and that is what I'm saying. That one little meeting of this, which I just a recent one, I understood that the message that is going out is not correct. So, and the other thing, the person. So I'm saying let's focus on finding
yeah,
these people.
true. No, but no, because if there's no better educator than the market. I totally believe in the free market. So if people have to pay for their mediator,
Yeah.
if it is in the private market and people have to pay for the mediator, naturally only the good will survive. Naturally. We don't have
But
to worry about it.
But then, Gabriela, the problem there is that right now, okay, this is again now country specific. Obviously, we'll have to get into each country to look at it. But there are a lot of countries where it is only happening in the court system. So the like I was saying that if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, is what I was told by someone in the court system. So if that is what is happening there, to say that okay, now we remove that aspect of you getting only a fixed amount, now it becomes a free market. But the people who were doing it, and they were the only people who were doing it in the country. There was no private market. Suddenly you open it out, you can charge what you want, and the people are forced to try it, because this is a discussion which is happening here. You are forced to try it, but go to people who might not be the right people to do it. Immediately on a large scale, the whole concept of mediation will get a negative view. What I'm saying is that start from the grassroots. These people who are in the villages and communities and towns and families, just spread the word that whoever you can, or who are already doing it, who are trusted. And I'm saying the same thing in schools. Just ask the children, because all this is already happening out there. It is not something that you have to create. It's just have to bring it forward. It's all happening. Those people are doing it. People are not aware. People in the same village are not aware that there is someone else doing it, because it's on a very limited thing. By word of mouth it spreads, how much it spreads. So we have to go out, get that information out. Those people are brought forward, they are told, and whatever way, then the free market comes in. That took This can be something that you can do on a full-time basis, because most of them are just doing it because they just first of all love doing it. They love helping people settle their matters. They don't even charge anything. People, I was asking this person in that thing, okay, this person does all this, you give them something? Yeah, we give them lots of love and affection. is that how this person is going to keep doing it? No. So if people also, I told the person, look, you have to value them. These are very important people for you, because they're helping you resolve a dispute. On the other end, these people, if the dispute is not resolved, they'll go to lawyers. There they will pay whatever comes to them. They might sell their land to pay them. But this person who's helping you resolve it, value them. This is the kind of message that has to go out. These people, when they start coming into, I'm still not using the word profession today, because I'm still looking at it. Do we need to push it as a profession or a way of life? Yeah, that's a decision which I have to take as to how to take it forward. But for a moment, it is a way of life for these people. But that way of life should be remunerated for it on market value. And people have to do it. People have to, they don't need to do it. People have to say, okay, no, this is a value that we have received, please, this is what, which is what I do in my practice. You decide. I'm not even asking you for something. Whatever you feel you're comfortable with, in terms of value received, not in physical money value received, but in the entire value received, peace of mind that you got, a whole dispute got resolved. Whatever, if you got, if it's a money thing, you got a money value today, which you might have got maybe 20 years later. You may or might not have got it. All that unexpected things that happen, it is whether it would happen, not happen, whether you would win or lose, all those things are gone away. So there is a value you've received from it. You pay accordingly. So people are fair. I'm okay with that, because I just feel that the kind of work that we do, if you start looking at, oh, I'm going to charge on an hourly rate and I will do that, I think that I would not think that, I would not want that the whole activity, the occupation, if you call it, move in that direction. So I am saying that the right people, when we bring them in, then when you open it out from the court system also, you must open it out to market. But that market means that those people are out there, which is where I have an issue.
But this is kind of natural. I love to compare mediation with mediators with doctors and the conflict with the disease. The conflict is a, quote, disease in the relational body. So if you have two people who are communicating effectively, so the flow of information, the flow of energy is happening here in a healthy way, they don't need a doctor. They're fine. Just like in your body, if your heart is communicating well with your lungs, with your kidneys, whatever part of your body, while it is functioning, you don't need intervention, right? The same thing with communication, except that when these people are not communicating effectively anymore, so there is a blockage in the communication, which would be similar to a cancer in your body, not allowing the flow of energy from one organ to another organ, you need intervention urgently, because otherwise life will end. So when you have a disease, when you have a symptom in your body, you go to a doctor and you decide what doctor you should go to if you have the money to pay. If you don't have the money to pay, you have to go to the public system and pray to find a good doctor there. In some countries, the public system is great. In other countries, we hope to have some money when we need. Otherwise, you won't have a lot of life to tell the story. The mediation, the conflict is a disease in the relational body, something that happens between two or more people. The difficulty about going to a doctor, the doctor means intervention from a judge, from an arbitrator, from a mediator, from who else, whatever else, is that we have to decide together where to go, because the disease is not only in the yellow one and it's not only in the green one, it's between them. So if this matter is really important to them, they will have to find a way. And they go to the judiciary many times because the disease has already evolved so much that they cannot talk enough to decide where to go. So they go to wherever they can go by themselves. And the only place is the judiciary. They can only start a conflict resolution procedure, good or bad, adequate or not, in the judiciary if they don't have the agreement of the other party, or if they don't have a system that makes them go to water in comparison to the horse. So, and then just a second.
Please.
So I go to the judiciary because the green one doesn't want to go anywhere, or because I am not able to talk to him and agree in going to whatever option there is, mediation, negotiation, arbitration, doing nothing. So it's really bothering me, it's hurting me, and I want to resolve it. Where can I go without him? I'll go to the judiciary. And the judiciary will bring him in whether he wants it or not. So it is important for the judiciary to have some notion of mediation, at least to offer them mediation. But of course, mediation should not happen in the judiciary because it's an inverse energy. If you go to the judiciary, you go to fight. If you go to mediation, you go to find a solution that is mutually accepted. So of course, the judiciary can be the door to start, but not the door to do the mediation. And then you have to have a system in place. Mediators, private mediators, qualified enough to take the cases. And if the system is already in place through a law that makes mediation mandatory before the court system, so or if you have a mediation clause in your contract This person, instead of going to the judiciary, will know that they have options here. And if the relationship is important enough, if they can still, and it of course it depends a lot on the stage of the conflict. If the conflict is in the initial stages and they can still understand the value of the relationship, and they can go to the best doctor there is, and they can pay for the best doctor there is, they will go to the best private mediator and agree to pay, because
Well,
they understand that this is an option for them.
I'll tell you, Gabriela, I will look at it two ways. First of all, in terms of curing a disease, now there is a lot of traditional ways of curing diseases, which has been going on for centuries. I mean, you have in India, you have Ayurveda, which is, of course, today, of course, the world talks about Ayurveda. It's there, but it
I
is
love it.
not. Yeah, but it's not something that is promoted by anyone. It is maybe not, maybe the whole concept of what we call modern science, what that brought in, and modern medical science, as we call it, has it destroyed that part? Yes, it has got what that again. This is again, I will analogy I'm taking from the colonization aspect on dispute resolution, the way colonization affected things. The whole push of modern medical science destroyed traditional methods of curing diseases, which is what I'm trying to say, which is what I'm trying to build, that those people are still out there. They are still doing it. There are, it's not that only you go to hospitals to cure diseases. There is lots happening outside. People, it's not that everything that happens in a person's life in terms of whatever little things that, whatever, I don't know, whatever, there are cures of what, all kinds of things in the traditional system. But are people using it, or have they been told no? It is the hospital, which is, I'm saying, modern science hospital. Ayurveda hospitals, they're very rare. There are some around, but they're very rare. So if that happens, if that's the way people have been told that this is how you cure diseases, same thing that happened with dispute resolution. Courts, I don't want that connection. The word should not happen. I'm saying that all the judges should stand in a line every morning in the courts and apologize. Rather do that. But to say, so for a moment, and the other thing is that when you talk about this, about the fact that you have mediators and of your qualifications and the system to put in place, we are losing sight of the numbers involved. India, 60% is rural population. Okay. So, and rural population,
Okay.
and 60%, you know, numbers, what 60% means. How many million? We talk about 700 million people. 700 people, 100 million people are in the rural areas. Are they connected to any court? Are we even have giving them an option there? You are okay. If a person has to, whatever the financial situation might be, has to travel to a court, then pay, not understanding anything about it, gets into the hands of a lawyer. That's the end of his dispute, or the, you might call it the beginning, is the end of the dispute, because there is no other choice which has been created, because that the mindset is that you go to the courts, and that is how mediation is also developing. Go to the courts. This is where mediation happens, and that's the way it's happened in a lot of countries. So I'm just saying, for a moment, I want to say, whatever it might, the court might keep doing it for a moment. I'm now trying to say, let's not even talk about it, because there are so many interesting things that you have to tell us. Spirituality, all those discussions don't happen. We get stuck with the courts and we get talking about them. I'm saying, let's maybe now not even have conversations about, we are giving them too much importance. Let's for a
Yeah.
moment say, okay, they will do what they have to do because they have enough control of the system to push their way through. They'll keep doing that. So we will not even talk about it. But on the other end, these people who I'm saying have the mediator mindset, how do we get them out? About how I started is, like I said, I'm talking to people, trying to get this village thing happening. So this one video is up now on Facebook that Gandhi Smriti has put up. I'm going to circulate that. Of course, that's in Hindi, so it will go to people who speak Hindi. In India, you know, there are lots of languages. So those conversations someone else will have in some other language with some other villagers or in some other rural area. These conversations I would want you to have in Brazil also. Whoever, I mean, I don't know what the rural population, how much rural population there is, but at least wherever you're connected to some village or something, just to have this conversation with them. Are there some people there who actually are trusted, who are already doing this. And the word mediation is not used, because the symposium that I organized in July and August, there the theme that I said was that people are familiar with the process. They are they might not be familiar with the word, and we are not concerned with the word. We just have to, this process is what we have to talk about. And it is not some rocket science. It is not something that someone else has to tell you about. It is all inside your own system everywhere. Just find the right people who are already doing it and get them out and value them, like I just said. So are you going to have that conversation, or you've already had that conversation somewhere?
So I've done a lot of community mediation in Brazil years ago, not now. And what happens in some communities, um, not most, but some. And it's interesting that just this past week, I was on vacation with my family, and we went to a small town in the south of Brazil uh, that I felt in love with because it's so organized and safe and clean and interesting, and people are so connected, and they have this feeling of community that, of course, we lose in a big town, in a big city like Rio. Uh, and what happens in those places where the community is connected by trust many times is that they have their own natural organic system, like you were saying. So they know who to go to because it's someone that is legitimate, because it's someone that everybody trusts. And this person will lovingly tell the people uh, what they should do, but it's not in a way of imposing. It's in a way of teaching, of educating, of saying why this is better than the other option. So, and these things don't get into account when we look at the number of mediations. And when we have a society, whatever the society is, very small or very big, but if the rules are clear, much less cases will require some kind of intervention. So, like I was the story here with the two, the red and the green, the yellow and the green. If they have a contract, or if they are members of a community where rights and wrongs are very clear, the chances of them going into a conflict because they understand the rules differently. This one understands that he has the right to something, and this one understands that it is his right. Or if they don't agree, and this one says, no, it's mine, no, it's mine, no, it's mine, no, it's mine, and they get apart and apart, then they will need intervention. So in these communities where they are connected by trust, naturally they will need conflict resolution in a much lighter stage. Sometimes mediation itself will not be necessary.
So
The
maybe,
problem is when there are no rules, or the rules are not clear, and they have no one to trust.
but
So
what if,
then they have to fight against the
but
other
what if,
person.
Gabriela, what if we go the other way? Why don't we create those communities? These communities that we're talking
Exactly.
about, let's look. I'll tell you one interesting thing, because all these things we are having, and it's all connecting to my the my vision 2026. Let me just open that out on my website. I've put those points. Let me just open it out, and I will show you that all those things are slowly they're all coming into the discussion. But before I open that, I will the definition of, because I just opened that to show it to you. But this is what this. I'm very happy with this one paragraph to be sent out to people. This is what the Singapore Convention defines mediation as. Very first time you have a definition out there. And India, of course, is a signatory. Brazil is a signatory now. So in principle, we've accepted this definition. And that's all that people need to know about mediations. Just that one paragraph, and they will understand. Yeah. Okay. So now let me just go to that Vision 2026. Not that you have ever gone to my website, Gabriela. Have you ever? Have you
No.
ever So nice of you. This is what I like when people do entire schedule of activities is goal. People don't even know. People rely on LinkedIn posts and Facebook posts. Are they going to show you all the posts? It's an algorithm that works. So please see the schedule of activities from here. Okay, so Vision 2026, obviously with two I did with Ken Cloak on that, and then I did one with Shriram Panchu is from India. So now that now we have to just go into the Vision 2026. Of course, International Mediators Day and International Peacemakers Day. I put a day for that. We'll have conferences at that time. So in May and July. Okay, so first one is culture and traditions. So this is something where it's connected to the symposium of mine where I said, which you know, I mean, there were almost 100 speakers from more than 40 countries there. So
The
this was the
Woodstock.
theme. Yeah. So here's Woodstock. Yes, I will, of course, I will definitely show you that picture because I have to go through that. But
I've
the
seen it.
fact, this was the whole idea that this is all out there. People know about the process. You just have to connect them with that. Yes, at the same time, be careful that it is not that they don't have an option. You're telling them to do something which is forced on them. Of course, that sensitization has to happen to the people who are doing it also, be it the chief of the in the tribe or whoever. Like I keep saying that they have to stay relevant. They also have to understand that. Otherwise, their relevance will go. People will move away from them if because today we're not in those kind of times. In some places, yes, today we are still living in those times where what that person says is law. So that those changes have to happen at that level. So this aspect. Next comes the decolonization, which we just spoke about. Of course, you can see those conferences in connection with all this. We'll have a conference on decolonization. The mediator mindset, this is what I'm trying to say, that these people out there, first important heart, soul, and spirituality they bring in. That's why they're trusted. That's why people go to them because that is a very important part of it, which you are going to touch upon after I finish this. They have the respect, they have the integrity, the ethics are all there. So they have from their end, this is for me prime in terms of mediators. Prime. I mean, this cannot be compromised. Any other profession today, lawyers have that's become a business. The medical profession is a business. You said about the public health system. I would prefer going there because on the other side, you made these shops. They're like shops. There's these hospitals. They're targets given to the doctors in terms of what they are supposed to do. So it's the commercialization that has happened there. Is that good or not? Okay, that's another area. So then this whole thing of gender diversity and inclusion, gender aspect, I kept talking about the fact that you have to get in places where women are not part of the mediation process, not just as mediators. They have to be part of the mediation process because in rural areas sometimes they're not. Most of the times in India, other countries will have to look at Africa. Of course, the same thing happens. So those things. Okay, mediators and peacemakers collective. The idea is, which is what I'm trying to do, get these people who have the mediator mindset, get them together. It's like a pool. I am saying it becomes a global pool. You're starting at the village, yes, but same thing in the cities and everything. Like we are there, we are doing different way of different kinds of matters we might do, but a global pool can be created. So I am saying that all that should come under on a platform. The peacemakers are the ones who connect that whole, get the whole process together. So they might not have the mediator mindset, but they have a peacemaker mindset. So they reach out to people, tell them about the process, say that you should use it. They identify those people with the mediator mindset, put this all together, because that's also very important work. Putting it all together, taking a person in dispute to the other side or reaching out to the other side by itself is a very major step. Everyone can't do it. You have to have a peacemaker mindset. So those people reach out, they find, they identify the mediator, the people with the mediator mindset in that area and bring them together. Oh, and that's on one level. On the other level, you have a platform where a global pool is created, which is what I'm trying to do. And people can, from anywhere in the world today, online mediation is what I'm saying. Everything has to be online. For me, that whole world is online now. So culture of mediation, that is what we have to create. Rather than pushing people through it, they should value the process and then go with it voluntarily. And which is what the whole concept was. It has to be voluntarily. So push something. This community part, which is what when you mentioned, the thing that the in okay, urbanization has definitely made that difference, that communities are not communities the way they were. So I think we have to bring those communities together Have the conversation with those community, which is what you will tell me because you've done that. Because I have that conversation here and I see a difference. When the moment you talk about the process in a small, okay, it is not small in that sense. It's still, these communities have become larger. Villages might be small. Our residential communities have become larger. But just a conversation there saying this process should be used, that makes the difference. And of course, a sense of ownership towards the community, which you said, this person driving the car at whatever speed, and I am walking across the road, which I am perfectly all right in doing, and this person goes drives in that speed not thinking about I would cross. I'm saying this, there's a lack of the sense of ownership towards communities. You don't care a damn about anyone, and that is an issue with this whole thing of individualistic societies or selfish societies. So that part of it also needs to change, the sociological aspect of it. It's not as simple as just saying that okay, you mediate or you collaborate. Why is it happening? Why have people moved away from it? Why do they think they don't need to belong to a community? I think those aspects have to come into the thing. And children, obviously, I said children to the extent of actually resolving disputes. So that good thing, conflict management, non-violent communication, keep doing all that. Very nice. But are they sitting down and actually resolving a dispute? So this is that way of life profession thing. If maybe if I refresh this, I think that I changed that to profession a question mark. So I think we'll get that. Okay.
I like that part.
So let's go back. I hope I think I changed that. So the question mark should be there now. Is it? Yeah.
Profession, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why I'm saying that first question mark, we'll look at that. Imagination, creativity, process can be used in various places. Everyone talks about the dispute and courts. I've been saying contract drafting. Sit there. A mediator comes in at that stage. Why should it be, say, facilitated negotiation? When does negotiation happen? When a contract is being drafted. Get in there. That's why I'm saying there is so much work for mediators. People with a mediator mindset, not the mediators, people with a mediator mindset. There's so much work there. Look at different ways of practicing it. There was one post that I put out, and Kathy put a reply to it saying she's doing something with poetry and mediation. She's doing there's something that I said that we'll have a lecture on that. So she, in her symposium thing also, she was talking about art and mediation. So how you practice the profession, there are so many ways to do it. So creativity in that
Exactly.
sense. And
And this is exactly what I meant when I say that I teach completely different groups about mediation. And it's not for them to be mediator in the specific sense, but it is to use mediation, to have the mediation mindset in whatever they do.
yeah,
So if you are an artist, if you are a journalist, if you are a doctor, how can you use mediation in what you do with the mediation mindset?
yeah.
Not being a third party neutral in a round table, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so this is, and this is actually, that's two parts of it. One is you have the mediator mindset and use it to resolve disputes in various areas and in different ways. The other thing is,
Exactly.
yes, the takeaway from your mediator mindset and how you take it into other areas of not just dispute resolution, into other areas where actually it might not be a dispute resolution. It could be just a communication or whatever else it has to happen. So that part.
So it
Social,
would be prior to a formal mediation
yeah,
to
exactly. So
avoid a formal anything.
exactly. Yeah, because in that sense, you can actually maybe sometimes I've been doing like what I saw preventive aspect. So dispute doesn't need to come up if you create that atmosphere where you use this mindset to create communication. You can actually identify and actually you can preempt. I'm saying you can go to preemption of disputes also,
Mm-hmm.
because the whole concept of communication, which is what you're supposed to be able to do, if you facilitate that, and I've done it in organizations, you facilitate conversations, you get people together, because in organizations departments have become silos in themselves. So someone needs to come in and create that communication between everyone. You can even understand a issue is boiling somewhere, it's happening somewhere, it hasn't boiled enough to overflow, but it is there, it's simmering somewhere. You can identify it just by someone coming in, a third party coming in to look at, have an overview of the whole thing. So you can use it there. So in that sense, the creativity, there is so much to the way it can be done. So let's not put it into one box. Okay, this is what it is. So let's open it out.
This is
And
actually what I do the most.
but
What I do
Gabriela,
the most is to act inside the organizations doing that.
so which is why I'm putting this out to you. I need your inputs on all this. That's why I'm not defining it. I'm talking to you, so I'm telling you about this. But I should not need to. You should come up with something. These are inputs that I need. This is, like I keep saying, it's a work in progress. It is 2026. We are just about starting. So start this. Social problem solving. I always give the example of what's happening in Peru, about these mining projects and how these communities affected by that, and how Ivan and Luis Ore, what they are doing there. I think excellent work that's happening there. So that kind of thing of social problem solving, whatever else,
Very
whatever.
fond of them both.
Yeah, no, lovely people. And what I told them was, let's look at how we can do it in other parts of the world. So whatever it could be, create these little teams. It could be maybe just them with their experience, creating that environment there, telling them how it's done, whatever. So that process I've started now. Let's look at India on one end and everywhere else. That's that. So that's one. So similarly, other social problems, how communication, creating communication with the government and communities on certain areas. One sane voice. I'm just saying a sane, impartial, or like uh, Ken Cloak says, and I also would prefer to say omnipartial person. Let's not say impartial. Omnipartial person comes in, and that is why I'm saying, why I keep talking about this village thing is because these people who are there, they were already doing it. Ask people, they can be involved in these dialogues with the government, where a lot of things, I mean, there could be projects, yes, there are so many other areas where that communication is required. So use these people there, which is what Ken Cloak puts down, those 10 points of the role of mediators. Very important. But the right people, not just anyone, the right people. And these are people who are trusted. If they are trusted by the communities and they are the ones who are involved in the process of communication, by itself, the community has trust in the whole process then. So that, but otherwise, because look, there is, I mean, all these problems that happen, there is so much lack of transparency. Then these NGOs come in, we don't know what lobbying is happening there, what all keeps happening. But if this is an individual who's actually trusted, and in terms of, like I said, top ethics, respect, integrity, all that is there, definitely that the community will, whatever way, support it, be part of it, they'll feel a part of it. So those things, global problem solving on a larger scale, how we can, like, of course, Ken Cloak does it at the climate change concept. Wherever else, how else on other global problems, we can start discussing those. And digital, for me, one part is obviously the online mediation as digital. The other is getting the word out. So how do we get those million hits, million views on when someone pushes a good concept about mediation, talks about mediation, when that happens, and not just for songs. So how do we promote that? With me, look, I'm telling you, Gabriela, I'm facing a big issue. No one shares my posts. You don't even look at the posts. Don't have time for that.
I do share. I
Okay.
normally do a little image and the text, and me and my little constellation firm, we
But you have to
share
go
your post.
beyond that, Gabriela. What about the other people? When Constantia's episode happens, someone else's episode, you have to promote each other. In the symposium, what did I keep saying? There were
I
almost 100.
totally agree. The thing is,
No,
at
there
this
were,
moment in my life, I'm doing as much as I can.
all I ask is, whenever you see a video or so whatever, or any post you think is good, just press the share button, and don't even have to write anything. Just, it takes what, 3 seconds maybe. Press share, let it go. Let it go. Like I was saying, that in the symposium, there were almost 100 speakers. If each of those speakers had shared each other's, just that little video of theirs, we would have had 10,000 shares. If those 10,000 shares, because all these people have some people they're connected to on social media, can you imagine 10,000? I'm saying just 1,000 people they were connected to. Can you see the numbers involved? You reach out to so many people. People are stopping themselves or reaching out for some reason. Either the thing is they think the pie is too small, so why should we promote other people? I'm saying no, if you promote other people, the pie becomes bigger. It becomes so
But
much bigger. So that part, sharing part, I have a big issue with. I don't know what that. So what I did was I said, look, projects, people, any part of the world wanting to do something to take this vision forward, come in, tell me about your project. I said I'll evaluate because of course I have to look at it. But then after that, connect them with other people who actually want to support this. Just by maybe just by giving time. Gabriela just wants to give time. She's done work in some area, and someone in some other corner of the world is doing something there. What, it might be just a 1 hour conversation, we can, or some Zoom call can be done, and what your whatever your experience, and they can get benefit from some corner where they otherwise would not have that support. So you might give your time, someone else might want to give financial support. Just bring it out, and I'm not the middleman. Okay, I have put in very clearly, I am not the middleman. That the transfer of money, the part you handle with yourselves, that part I never want to get into. So this is the way I'm taking it forward. Now your comments on it.
I think you're doing an incredible work, sincerely, very visionary. Uh, but I also think that we are going through a moment of humanity where we have too much information. So I think the main challenge we have is how to select information. And we have too much of everything. We have too much of the good and too much of the bad, and it's hard to tell one from the other. So what I read, for example, when you asked if I had seen your website, I normally work 16 hours a day, more or less. I can't. I can't do everything I would like to. So when I have the need for something, I have to know where to look for. And then that's where all the social media comes in to my life, at least. So when I have a need, a specific need, and I need to research about something, I go to the connections that I know are serious, are quality aware, blah blah blah. And from there I start pulling the thread. So that's why I come back to what we were talking before, of having a system in place. I don't think and from my experience, I don't think a community is very interested in learning about conflict resolution unless they are going through a conflict. The people who are feeling the pain will be looking for solutions. So the solutions must be there and of easy access, so that they can find when they need. Because people do not innovate because they are visionaries like you are. You are an exception, a necessary exception in humankind.
Who's putting out too much content out there which you don't get time to see.
It is true. It is
Okay,
true.
but Gabriel, before that, when you talk about communities, interesting thing which I forgot to tell you about that meeting that I said on Tuesday that I had with these people from the village. That one guy told us that there is a village in India, in their area, in that particular district that they are from, that no matter has gone into courts from that village since independence. Not one matter has gone. So I have told them to please figure this out, tell me more about this, because I'm not going to take it just as that no dispute has gone out. How is the dispute resolved? Because they said they resolve it within themselves. But it should not be that people are thrashed to agree to something that someone else says. That's not good. That's not good. So that is not the good thing. But let's find out. So that means people have been able to create a system there. So let's also look at that and maybe highlight that. Let's see. Let's see what information
You
comes
know,
back.
I think we should have a whole session about constellation, because constellation can answer some of these questions.
Okay, Gabriel, it
Be,
doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. When do you want to do it is the point. When do you want to do
okay,
this? Yeah,
we'll
this is
see the
now
time
dates.
after.
No. This doesn't work that way. It all gets announced here. So that someone who's listening to it knows that Gabriela is coming on so and so day to do
So
it.
I'm
Can be
looking at
February.
my calendar, just a
February
second.
23rd February. 23rd February.
Um, how about
23rd
the
February.
28th?
28th is a Monday, right?
Yeah, it's a Friday.
February.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. No. Let's have a look. Or maybe because I have got my calendar. I've opened I have a sheet which I put down what my events in. That is a Monday. Yeah, it's a Monday, 28th February.
No, of January.
Oh, January. What to do January? Why take it to February? Let's take it to February. We can do it also. We can do it on.
February. Okay, no
No, no, we
problem.
can do it in January 28th also. We'll do it again in February. Not a problem.
No, no, no. Let's do it in February. That's
It's
fine.
just that, look, I'll tell you what the situation in January is. There are about 15 events in January. You keep
Okay,
talking
so
about
how about
content going out.
the 4th of February?
Any day. We'll do it the 4th of February.
So the 4th of February.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying you
And
want to do 28th also, we can do 28th also, because that is very interesting. Whatever, of course, you as a person are
no, no, no.
interesting.
That's fine. It's too much. That's fine. The 4th of February is great.
Done. Done. Same time? No,
And we
not this
will
time.
only talk about constellation, okay?
But this time you're going to keep
Same
it at
time,
6.
11. Huh?
No, we keep it a little early because we will tell
Okay,
you what happens with
early. Okay, 10.
10.
10 is fine.
I'll have to check what your 10 is. First of all, what is your
10
10?
is 6:30 for you.
Perfect. 6:30 India
Okay,
time is perfect.
okay. But coming back to what we were saying, uh, people will do anything to belong where they originally belong. So when you were born in a community that believes that you should resolve your conflicts without going to court, you don't want to go to court because that will mean you are in the you're facing the risk of not being accepted anymore. This is what culture does to people. So when you said that they have never taken a case to court in their whole history since the beginning,
And since the
it
independence, yeah, we talk, yeah, because independence,
independence.
yeah,
Okay, independence. Uh, it reminded me of how do you say that when you make drawings on the walls with this
graffiti, graffiti,
graffiti, yeah,
yeah.
graffiti. So it's just like graffiti in the subway system. They never let one graffiti stand for more than a few hours on the wall, and they go there and they clean it immediately, because their understanding is that if you have one graffiti there, soon you will have the whole wall painted. So you don't let it happen the first time. And that's what culture does. So when you live in a country where it is okay to steal, it is okay to take bribes or whatever, and the first case happens and the second case happens, and it becomes natural, it becomes organic. So it's very hard to undo it afterwards. So people should be how can I say, afraid of disappointing their community members because they don't want to be the exception in some kind of conduct that is not supposed to be acceptable. But when you have so many people doing whatever conduct without being expelled from society, then it becomes natural.
So that's what I'm saying.
And
That's
it's
social.
very hard to undo it. Huh?
Yeah, that basic social pressure. There has to be some social pressure. That social
Exactly.
pressure is gone because look, again, keep saying that the concept of developing individualistic societies. What does it mean? Actually, as individuals, you have created some system around yourself and you don't want to let other people come into it and you want to bring them in only on your terms. It is only a one-sided kind of situation. So I want this, so I will have this interaction, otherwise I won't. So that whole concept of creating that society, that community, that's what I'm saying, that work has to happen there. Sometimes maybe to get into developing of mediation, maybe the development of communities and a certain social a cohesion, a social pressure. I mean, let's not say really pressure. It is to your advantage also. It is not really, that is not really a pressure. It is if you want to benefit from it. Like in our community, I had gone and I've of course spoken about this, but in that meeting, I was just talking to this old elder person. Her daughter had got COVID, and she was saying how everyone in this community came to her. Someone was delivering food to them. Someone was looking at something else. these aspects should be pushed, that if you are part of a community, something you benefit from it also. So it's not
Yeah,
just that you are giving, you're getting also. So and I thought,
exactly. But
and yeah, no, and I think COVID should have been also one thing where people might have should have looked at it differently. But I think we have very short term memory on these issues. Yeah, please, I'm sorry.
but the thing, it's not so hard to do it in a small community where you know everybody by the name. But when communities grow and grow and grow, it is important. It is impossible to keep everybody at the same level of information, to say
But
the least.
well, this is interesting, Gabriela. Now we have to also come up with what is that size of the community when things go out of control in a way, or in terms of dispute resolution, or when does it go out? Is a 5,000 people community, do they stick together, and are they able to resolve the disputes within themselves? When they become 6,000, things change. No, actually, no, serious. This is serious, Gabriela, because actually
No, I know, I know.
I've been looking at it, that when does that happen? So when you start dividing and putting people, saying that communities, how small do they have to be for people to, I'll give you an example. This Kathy, I was
It's
talking about
not
Kathy.
about the number
No,
of
no, no,
members.
interesting. Yeah, I mean that also, because Kathy is in Canada. I was saying that poetry and all that part. She's in Canada. She lives in a very small place. I think population there would be some 700 or something like that. I don't know. I will have to check with her. But some very small population. And she says within that community there are such issues, them making allegations against each other. They have some Facebook page, someone writing something there. So maybe it's not sized. I mean, you were just going to say
It's
that.
not size.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
size. It's proportion. So what we have scientifically said is that 10% of the population, whatever population it is the minimum, quote, proportional amount to make a difference. So, and then you have what we may call a quantic step ahead. So when 10% of the population changes behavior, these 10% are now able to influence the other 90%. Of course, when the new behavior means an evolution.
Yeah.
So, and this is scientific data. Okay, of course, it's not a 10, it can be 9.9, it
Yeah,
can be
yeah. I
10.2,
got,
but
got the point.
yeah, but it's more or less 10%. Uh, and the thing is, when did it get spoiled? When did, from being a peaceful community, it became a violent community? It
And
happened
why? When?
somewhere in,
Not just when. It's why. More question. I'm
no,
telling you that
yeah,
this is where that whole concept of divide and rule and the colonization part will come in. The
when I mean
communities.
when,
Yeah.
it's not about time, it's about events. What happened to make it change the 10% that took it to a violent option of reality? And then after that, it becomes harder and harder and harder to come back to whatever it was. And the only thing I really need to go, unfortunately, but
No, this is where I was going to come in, Gabriela. I knew that you're going to say in the next 3 minutes I have to leave.
yeah, I
I
do.
have to take you through what is happening in January. So we will continue this. I will first show you the slides of
Okay,
that. Look, it's part of the the promotion of mediators and mediation that I do. So that 3 minutes I will first take for that, and we'll finish your point there. So you
okay,
look, this is important for people to see what has happened. It always starts with this, that has to happen. So okay, this is all these videos are up there out there. Please watch them. This is that vision 2026. Obviously, each of them we'll keep discussing, but this is the larger concept of that. This is that mediator lifestyle new series, glimpse into the lifestyle of mediators. So you can take us anywhere you want. That she was supposed to take us to a beach in Paphos, but that day she couldn't go there. So she, in her house only, she showed us the, oh, this one looks familiar. That's familiar. Okay. So this obviously in conversation, beautiful mind, people with the mediator mindset. So this is what that conversation is about. So we had Orith from Israel. Do you know Orith? You don't.
no,
Okay.
this one I don't know.
Okay. Should. This is the lecture series, and we. Okay. For you, it's a repetition, but I'm putting it out that someone else would see this. That this is okay. This is for people who are not in the mediation world. They're all out there. We have to get these things out there. First of all, identify those people And I'm saying that all this training and all we keep talking about, they don't need that training, but skill development, okay, if they can watch these lectures, so let's give them out. Will they get inspired by this? Let's see. But again, it's all about sharing. If people share it, only then it goes out there. So Patricia was what, day before yesterday. Very interesting thing he spoke about. You must watch it. This aspect about mediators actually getting remunerated, and all he's gone into the economy, how the economy, the public system, people getting used to free services in some countries, all those. Interesting lecture. You must watch it. Different. It's like, I would think, a thought-provoking thing. So you should look at it, and then we can discuss this. Again, someone's back here. Okay, tomorrow, Danny Weinstein.
The guy.
Yes. So that's going to be interesting. And then we have the mediator experiences. So this is, he's Pranjal, doing very good work. In they developed a online platform for dispute resolution. They've done a few, I think, a million or so matters have gone on through that platform already. The young people from college, I think they passed out from college, I think 3 years back or something. So he's a JAMS fellow, and work they're doing, I mean, really needs to be looked at. People from other parts of the world do that. She's in Pakistan. Actually, arbitrator is what she is, but uh, because I was telling her that, okay, we should look at it from the mediation things. Look, I'm basically an arbitrator. I said, okay, we're talking about your experience as a JAMS fellow, so not an issue. We'll talk about whatever you're comfortable with. This is a lecture. She's in South Africa. Then Michael and Zofnat had given lectures earlier. So this is just continuing that, and they have such. Michael always has such nice things to say on social media. Oh, to me also, he says that and puts it out. Sometimes I feel, do I really do all that? Comes up with creative genius. Let me use the words that he uses. I'm not saying it. So it's very nice listening to him. So this is that mediation visionaries. I'm putting these out. Everyone gives their vision 2026, and then we, that work in progress goes on. So we'll have yours also, vision 2026. The Burning Man is a part 2, and then the book that Ken Close has written, 2 books which have come out. So we'll discuss those. People who have read it can also contact me. You can be part of the Zoom conversation. Buy it at a discount. Use the word code Vikram at this website. Buy it there. Then last, in conversation with Beautiful Mind, and then the last day of the month, celebrating the birthdays of mediators in that month. I've taken 1 minute extra of yours. So please excuse me, but I have to push that through. I have to tell people about all that I do. And that is why I said we won't have yours in January, because there's so many things which are happening there. It's just too much of a list.
Congratulations. Your work is really incredible.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you are part of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for making me a part of this very high quality community.
They're very good people, all of them. And look, there's a responsibility here. Today I was speaking to someone. She tells me that she actually contacted or went into a process, mediation process, because saw that person on my show and said, because you have put that person there, I said, okay, person must be credible. So
Yeah.
that now it's become responsibility. Suddenly when I heard that, now I have to be really, I always, of course, I'm very, very choosy about it, but now I'll have to really be very choosy, because once
Yeah.
I put someone out there, oh my God, this is like amazing kind of responsibility. Too much, Gabriela. This is not easy.
I know. I know. Congratulations. Indeed.
No, but
I'm sorry, I really have to
yeah,
go,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
we will be talking again soon.
And again and again. And
And
lots
again,
of those things that
it
I
is a
wanted you to
pleasure.
discuss with you, that did not happen. The heart, soul, and spirituality, I think we'll just keep it to that next time.
Yeah. Next time it will be only about
Constellation.
that. Okay. We
Okay.
won't talk about the judiciary or anything
We
else.
won't even use those words in the conversation.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Gabriela. Really nice talking to you. And good you kept 2 hours. I really thought you would have kept only 1 hour, which I was going to write you a message saying that please keep time. So good.
Okay. It is a pleasure. I
Always a
wish I
pleasure
could
speaking to
stay
you.
the whole day, but
When you say that, it sounds good.